On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina. All right, everybody, I'm here with Shaun Alexander of the Los Angeles Dodgers organization. Shaun, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time. Tell the listeners about yourself, if you would, please.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on too, man. It's a big honor to be able to talk with you and just kind of get caught up on some things. Like you said, I'm with the Los Angeles Dodgers. This will be my sixth season coming up with them in 2019. Just got finished up in the Texas League this year, AA affiliate, the Tulsa Drillers. Let's see, I've been in baseball since 2012. Interned with the Marlins. A seasonal position in 2012. So I got there in extended, and I worked all the way through instructs before going back home to California. And then came back and did high A in the Florida State League in 13. And then after the 2013 season, looked elsewhere, tried to kind of find an organization that was moving in the right direction. And the Dodgers were a great fit, not because of just being a better opportunity, but also the fact that I grew up going to Dodger games and being a fan. So it was fun to kind of line up being a fan and then being able to work for them and all that. So.
See, I'm an East Coast guy, but we just moved to Phoenix, and so we took a California tour, and we went to Dodger Stadium, and everybody's like, dude, you're going to love it there. And one of my other buddies is a Dodger fan growing up, and he's like, oh, I love Dodger Stadium. And I don't know, not to offend you, but I guess I just didn't grow up around it. I think it'd probably be different if I grew up around it and see all the guys coming through the system and going through the history. But I don't know, it just didn't do it for me the way some of the Dodger fans were hyping it up to me. So maybe we'll sit down and talk about the history, and I'll appreciate it a little bit more than what I did. East Coast guys, we just don't get it. So
Right. No, I don't blame you. It's it's just something that I'm sure for Fenway or old Yankee Stadium, that those kind of places are relics, and they have been around for a long time. And Dodger Stadium, I think, is like the third oldest now, but still not going to have quite the same cachet as some of those like original ballparks.
Yeah. I mean, the history's there, and it's just being an East Coast guy. That's all. That's my that's my excuse for it. So, But no, one of the big reasons I wanted to have you on is you were Strength Coach of the Year, actually multiple times now. I've had a lot of coaches on here who have been Strength Coach of the Year, and so our listeners are pretty familiar with the idea that it is voted on by your peers. So first and foremost, congrats to you. Right. That goes a long way to have the respect of your peers. But I'm going to come at you hot right here. I want to know what you do that makes you successful, how your previous experiences have helped you become successful now, and what you think makes a strength coach successful both in general and in professional baseball.
All right. Yeah, no, those are all really good questions. For me, being successful has been trying to come at the guys that I come into contact with, or gals, in this case this year, with Rachel, with the Astros organization, with just a caring type of attitude. If they need anything, coming from a standpoint of what would I want to get from a strength coach if I'm the visiting coach? What was going to help me out the most in terms of facility use or road gym, or even just someone to kind of talk to and get caught up on how things are going and kind of debrief and get a little one-on-one time with somebody that's pulling in the same way that you are with your team. So I just try to connect with them on more than just a, hey, how you doing? And have good luck tonight in the game type of way. I try to go a little bit deeper and also understand that there's potential down the road in the future that if I'm in a coordinating position and they're looking for a different opportunity or whatever it might be, that if you have a good relationship and a good contact, that'll make it much easier to move that process on.
Yeah, right on, man. You never know who's going to move up or who's going to need a job or whatever. And
right.
And I mean, sometimes it feels like you're on an island too at the affiliate. So when you get a chance to talk to other strength coaches, it's really good to just air some things out and talk some shop, because most of the time you're just by yourself and your guys don't want to hear you talk about deadlifting or sets and reps or anything like that.
Right.
So how have the past experiences that you've had maybe with the Marlins or even your earlier years with the Dodgers kind of molded you to who you are now to help you be successful?
Yeah, I think anytime you talk about past experiences, it's going to be, in this game, it's going to be players that you've had to make relationships with, that they have different personalities, and you have to be able to adjust on the fly. And I've definitely made more mistakes than I'd be proud to admit, but I think I've learned from them and realized that with the guidance of some good coaches along the way, good coordinators, that they're all just trying to make the organization better. And if you can take that same approach, that at the end of the day, every player has the potential to be a big leaguer. And if you approach them in that same way that you might during big league camp for spring training, that they'll respect you more. You'll get what you want, ultimately what you both want, which is to be on the same page and have their performance progress. And yeah, I mean, I didn't get it my first probably 3 years. I would get on guys really hard and not really have a whole lot of empathy with them based upon them being away from home for a while, or all the other factors that go into just being human. I kind of forget, like, they are human. They're not just baseball players that you can dictate what they're going to do day in and day out. It makes it a lot smoother, a lot less stressful if you can have kind of an unconditional love attitude, as hard as that might be at sometimes. That's kind of the premise that our big league coach, Brandon McDaniels, focused on. Ensuring that we have is showing them some love, and it'll go much further than being hard on them all the time, even though you might think that that's the right thing to do to get them to where you want to go. It just oftentimes doesn't seem to work out that way. So
yeah, it's so easy to love on the guys who actually like the weight room and come in and really get after it, but those guys that just have no desire to do it, those are the ones that make the difference for you and help you learn and help you grow. And if you can find ways to connect to those guys and get them to buy into what you want to do, that's a huge, huge success for you as a strength coach at your affiliate, because you're going to spend every day with that guy. So if he's miserable coming into the weight room every single day, like, it makes for long days for you.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of it can take a lot of energy out of you, which can then lead itself into the guys that do like to be there, but then they see you kind of moping around or kind of being low on energy. They kind of might feed off of that as well. So it's definitely been a positive growth pattern for me in terms of learning the different personalities. As guys get to different levels, they kind of start to develop maybe a few different characteristics in terms of who they really are, as they maybe are getting closer to the big leagues, getting paid a little bit more, just all those things kind of come into play. So it becomes a transition point from rookie ball and on your way up. The the way you approach the majority definitely has to change.
Yeah, the things you deal with at the lower levels versus the higher levels are very, very different. At times,
Right.
anyways, they're very different. So,
Yeah.
so what do you think in general makes a strength coach successful, and then specifically in pro ball? I mean, you've been working at a pretty high level here of success. So, what is it that other strength coaches can do to be successful in general in strength and conditioning, and then specifically in professional baseball?
In general, I think the rule of thumb that like Dan Johns used is always be learning. That definitely is something that I've tried to be consistent with. So if it's in season or off season, just looking into different things that maybe you aren't really good at. I know oftentimes we get stuck in doing stuff that we're, whether it's programming or training program for ourselves, like we like to do the things we're good at and not necessarily approach the things that we have a weakness in. So for me, like the pursuit has been a lot on like leadership qualities and just being a better coach, not necessarily just X's and O's and doing some kettlebell certification or making sure you're brushed up on FMS and PRI and nutrition type of stuff. It's been how can I be a better leader? How can I relate to the players, communicate better with the other coaching staff so that we can develop an environment that is productive and successful.
Yeah, we all kind of have that one or two things that we really like. And if you just keep only reading that and studying that, like other people are learning other things. So when they come to you for a conversation and you're like, yeah, I can't talk about that. I can only talk about this. Like, it goes a long way, even if you don't know a lot about it. If you just, brush up on a little, like you said, PRI or FMS or anything, if you can just start a conversation with somebody, it goes a long way versus, yeah, I only know how to squat, bench, deadlift. Like I can't talk to you about this other stuff. So right on, man. Right on with that. So what do you believe in within strength and conditioning that others think you are crazy for believing? I'm sure you've seen some things, so I'm interested to hear what you got.
Yeah, lately we do some early morning workouts during spring training with our staff, and it's grown over the last couple years. And we kind of get challenged as a staff to present on different topics and kind of do a little in-house continuing ed. And this last season, I did some breathing as kind of a prep work, and not just from a meditation standpoint, although that is a definite useful area to have breathing be a part of your performance, but as something that gets you ready for a lift. We're there at 5 o'clock in the morning. We got a long day ahead of us, and it's something that I think it's new to me. I've been trying to get into it more and more this season, and I've utilized it here and there with some players, whether it's before practice starts and kind of getting them to not only focus, but also, get some oxygen in their bodies and see if we can have a slightly more productive day out on the field. So that's been one. It's something that we all do. We're doing it right now, but to focus on it and have it be something that is really impactful, not only within a training session or in a game, but just in life in general, just to be able to stay at a higher performance kind of position throughout the day, sleep better, all those things that go into making a better human.
Yeah, there's definitely one of those topics that's kind of starting to trend into the mainstream that some people are like, no, we take too many breaths every day and we only control 10 in the weight room, that's not enough. And then there's other people that are like, hey, if you learn to control it, like this is going to go a long way. And so it's interesting to hear both sides of it. And like you said, if you just read up on it and you educate yourself, like you're well armed for a good conversation one way or the other. So
Right.
So what advice do you have for others in the field? Maybe young coaches looking to get into pro ball, or even coaches that have been around a while who just want to hear from somebody who's clicking at a high level?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, if I look at it from a standpoint of what would I have liked as a resource or something as a way to get a little bit more inside, I would talk to as many coaches as you can, whether you're at a university level or in a private setting. Make those connections with people, see what they can offer for you, learn from them, and get a much better idea of who you want to be as a coach. I think oftentimes that's who we end up being as a coach to our athletes, is whoever we feel like we liked being coached by, or that we saw successful athletes work with. We want to be more like them. We want to kind of create that type of improvement in our own abilities. Look at education from listening to podcasts like this. Get into the different qualities of whether it's the X's and O's of doing kettlebells or any other type of modality that might be included in your sport, and do as much research as you can about things that maybe you're right, like we talked about, that you're not necessarily great at. So if I'm kind of a Olympic lifting type of guy, and I really want to do that in baseball, and you come to find out that that's not necessarily going to bode well in a lot of organizations, then where else can I go with my process of learning? Where else do I want to get better at? What other types of things? And ask those, maybe some strange questions, or maybe have some awkward conversations about what do you think I could be better at? To be honest, that's going to be the best way to get better, is like ask other people, hey, what do you think I need to work on the most? Be honest. And sometimes you might not hear what you want to hear, but it's something that you need to hear. So that would probably be my advice to young coaches looking to either get into baseball or even just get into strength and conditioning in general at a collegiate level, or in a private setting at a performance center or something like that.
Yeah, we all got to have those people who are close to us who can give us that hard, honest feedback. Like, you don't necessarily want to just ask anybody, like, hey, what can I get better at? Because they'll be like, no, you're good, dude. You're the best. Like, but if you have those friends that are close with you, and, like I have a couple lifting buddies who I'm like, hey, I need help with this. What do you think? They'll give me the truth. And if you put your ego aside and you don't get offended and you just take it as, hey, they're trying to get you better, like, that's going to help you so much in your own growth, which is going to help you with your athletes, and it's just a full circle thing. So having those few people that can, lay on the hard truth for you go a long way.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned education a few times now, and so I'm interested where you're going for your continuing ed, what books you're reading, what podcasts you're listening to, any seminars that you're attending this upcoming off season. Where are you going for continuing ed?
This season, kind of in season, and a place to reference has been power, speed, endurance. So it's kind of a simple, user-friendly website. It has a lot of video content, a lot of different exercises, and they have some good education on muscle physiology and things that are going to help you understand what it is that we're trying to do from an energy system standpoint, or if a guy comes to you and you want a different modification to an exercise, and just kind of continuing to grow your exercise library that you can pull from, add another tool to your tool belt. But this off season, we're going to be doing DNS as an organization at Camelback in the Phoenix area. We're also going to be doing Titleist Performance Institute for baseball with Greg Rose out in LA. So I'm really looking forward to that because that was probably one of the original good resources for exercise and just getting a better library of rotational movements was actually a golf website and using Titleist Performance Institute content as a place to go to for different type of med ball drills or, like I said, modifications to particular exercises that we want to use, but a way to make them a little more curtailed towards a baseball player.
I got you. It sounds like you guys are doing it kind of as a whole staff too, which is pretty cool to have everybody involved and keeping everybody on the same page with some things and not letting stuff slip through the cracks. So it's good that you guys are holding each other accountable to continuing your education even in the off season.
Right. Yeah, it's been something that's the last off season and this off season that's been the trend. In the past, it's kind of been left up to you, like, hey, here's your allotment of continuing ed money that you can use. And then I think a lot of times guys were just picking something that they liked or that was popular. And then I myself included, like, I used it on precision nutrition 3 off seasons ago, and that was it. Like, and I still probably had half of what I was given left, and I didn't really continue to reach out and do more with it. Whereas last off season, I used every single penny that I could and went out and did the Strong First kettlebell certification and used FMS type of stuff just to get brushed up on that. And to be honest, yeah, it's way more fun and it's way more effective when you go with your fellow employees and you guys all have the same idea. You can bounce things off of one another and not necessarily change your whole entire way of doing things, but just be able to utilize the information that you've come in contact with and just like, all right, this is going to be awesome for our programming. How can we go about helping our guys even more? So
yeah, right on. It's like a level 1 is like the actual course you go to, and then level 2 is like just sitting with your boys and just brainstorming ideas that bounce off of the original ideas from the course. So
yeah,
a whole new level of learning outside of the seminars that happens when you're with your group like that. So
right.
So I know you got some life stuff going on here, and things could happen at any moment. But if you got a little bit of time, what do you think about a lightning round? Yeah,
let's do it. Yeah, my wife's just hanging out right now. Everything's calm. Kids are napping, so
all right. Let's do it. All right, 4 questions. First one, who is your biggest influence in the field of strength and conditioning?
Oh, man. There's been a few. Currently, it would have to be our current staff. Brandon and Travis up in the big leagues are 2 really great role models when it comes to, like I talked about before, the characteristics of your players and learning them and how to get along with multiple personalities, multiple age groups. You're talking about guys that have been in the league for a long time that they've had to come in contact with all the free agent signs that the organization has done. And then our minor league system being one of the best, we move some young guys up, and so you have just those large differences in personalities and training age, and so their ability to balance that and essentially help us out as minor league coaches by giving us an example of how they go about working with different players. That's been really helpful. Other than that, I mean, in the past, Mike Lynn at UCLA was a big help for me during my internship there. We have another coach on staff, Thomas Gentili, who also interned at UCLA and has a really good relationship with Mike, and he's a really kind of hard-headed kind of guy and no nonsense, so it can be intimidating as an intern, and it was really cool over my time there that it was probably like 6 or 7 months in to the job. I was working with I think the men's soccer team at the time, and he kind of just pulled me aside and was like, "Hey man, you're doing a really great job. Like it's noticeable. Like you definitely become a better coach than when you first got here." And that was, and I still remember it. And that was 7 years ago. So a guy like that to reach out, take you aside, and say like, "You're doing a great job," was impactful for me. So those are probably the main two. Of course, LA teams.
I got you. Second one piece of equipment to train with. What would it be?
Ooh, a lot of our guys like the Kaiser. To be honest, that seems to be something that if your weight room has it on the road and I go to visit, like I'll probably be in there trying to utilize that, and we don't have one at home in Tulsa, so that would be I put it down as a request at the end of the season. I think I put it down to have something like that in Rancho in the Cal League as well. So unfortunately, it didn't get there for Yavarone to be able to use it, but maybe in the future. But yeah, that seems to be a really good piece of equipment just for its functionality for guys that are looking to increase their speed of movement, the rotational ability that it gives us, the different attachments, like all those things are really, really helpful.
Yeah, super versatile piece.
Although the barbell is still really helpful.
Yeah. Outside of the barbell, that's a good piece of equipment to have, especially because guys can do buys and tries on it, right? That's what they love it for the most, anyways. Biggest accomplishment professionally and or personally?
Oh, goodness. Biggest accomplishment. Professionally, outside of just, it's, like I said, it's been a great honor to win the Strength Coach of the Year award 2 years in a row now. But the Strong First certification is no joke. I don't know if you know anybody else that's taken it. But 100 snatches in 5 minutes with a 24-kilo kettlebell it takes some work, takes some training. That's probably the biggest takeaway that I got from it, was a little bit more empathy and sympathy for our players when it comes to asking them to be more precise with their movements and to push it a little bit more than they might want to at the time. That certification definitely, and the training that went with it, were definitely an accomplishment. It was, something where and my wife can attest to this. I think I took like the 3 weeks leading up to it and said like super strict, like no alcohol, like really good water intake, like because it was also in Denver, so I wanted to be making sure I was ready for that altitude change. And I was also coming from the Dominican home for like a day or two, and then I went to LA. So I was doing all of this travel and then right to Denver from LA. And so I wanted to just really make sure that I was setting myself up for success. And so it was all the things that went into it, starting the training in May and, taking that all the way through till December to make sure I was ready. And it paid off, and it was fun, and it was a great time. So that was definitely a personal accomplishment within the field.
Yeah, right on, man. That doesn't sound very fun at all.
Yeah, not on paper, and not when you first try it. It's definitely difficult to wrap your brain around. Like, am I going to actually be able to do this? And do it in front of other coaching staff. Like, and if I know how hard I am as a strength coach, like there's going to be people there that they sign off on whether I pass or fail, and they can't just like fudge the numbers a little bit here or there. Like it's super strict. So it was a good test and a good way to kind of take myself outside of the coaching role and put myself into a little bit more of like the player role.
Have you done it since?
I think, I did it at least one time this last season. And I think I might have used like a 20 kilo. I went a little lighter just to make sure I didn't tear anything, and no rotator cuff injuries or anything like that. And it was still real difficult and it's not fun.
I bet. Last one. Any career other than strength and conditioning, what would you choose?
That's a tough question for me because it's not something that I've not thought about, but it's also something that I really don't have like another field that I might even enjoy going into. For me, if it's not in baseball, then it's going to be at a training center somewhere, or if it's not at a training center, then it'll be maybe as an assistant at a local college where I can create my own programming and stay close to home throughout the year and have a summer type of thing. But if I really had to choose, man, it's really tough. Like, I don't know if it would be like law enforcement or fire department, something where it's a little bit of a hectic, stressful schedule, but you also get some good downtime and some good benefits monetarily that go along with it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's a tough question. Everybody just doesn't ever want to think about anything other than strength and conditioning. And I mean, that's a good thing that all our coaches in this field are just, I'd rather just stick to being a strength coach. I don't really know how to do anything else too well. So all I know is strength and conditioning. I guess that's good. So
yeah, other than that, maybe like I grew up around a friend. My stepfather's a framing contractor, and I do a bit of do-it-yourself projects around the house and stuff like that. So that could be something that if it's lucrative enough and it's not too backbreaking, then I could probably give that a try and do something in construction or something like that to support the family.
I got you. Well, hopefully we all just stick in strength and conditioning and do what we like to do and what we know how to do. So, but I appreciate your time, man. Like I said, I know you got some things going on, and time is precious for you right now. So, if anybody wants to get in contact with you after this episode, where can we get more from you? Are you on social media, or are you not on there?
Social media I don't check at all. It's kind of just a thing for me that became a vice in the past, and I don't like to go down that road. So I still have the accounts and stuff like that, and people can message me, but to be honest, I don't check them. So just direct contact, either my cell phone number or email is probably the best. Shaun A at LADodgers.com.
Cool. I appreciate you, man, and appreciate you taking time out of your day and talking some shop with me, and we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks, man.
All right, everybody, that concludes this episode with Shaun. I hope you enjoyed this one. He's clearly found a lot of success for himself in this field, and it was awesome to talk shop with him. 3 things that I took from Shaun: do things that you are not good at, talk to and connect with as many people as you can, and remember that the players that you work with are not just baseball players, but also humans. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.